Hello my fellow developers and welcome to this very important video. So when we worked on the authentication in our application, what happens when a user sign in or sign up, the information of that user will be added to the Clerk database. So now we have added our own database and we want the same thing to happen into our database. So when a user sign in or sign up, I want those informations not only to be added to Clerk, but also added to my own database because I want to own the data, I want to own the information of those users in my application so I can manage it in my app. Okay, so the idea of achieving this, it's not simple using Clerk. Okay, so they don't do it like Next.js or other providers. They just simply tell you, okay, just add the URL of your database, and when we add that user into our database, we will add it to yours. That's not the same way for Clerk. So I have talked to the developers of Clerk and they said that the best way to achieve this is to use webhooks. And webhooks will work as a bridge between the Clerk provider and our application. So the bridge will be listening all the time and it will listen to when a user sign in or sign up. It will take those information, add them to Clerk, but also will trigger an event into our application to take those informations and also add them in our database. And webhooks work on both sides. Let's say something, I go to my own database and I update the informations of the user, it will also automatically update to Clerk and vice versa. So when I update something in Clerk, it will update on my database, and when I update on my database, it will update on Clerk. And that's very cool. And that's a very cool concept. You probably never worked with it before, and this is the video for you to learn this very cool concept of webhooks, creating this sort of bridge between your application and a provider and trigger events depending on something that is happening. And the events that is gonna happen, like simply user is gonna be created to Clerk or updated into Clerk. We wanna trigger certain things, okay? And the action simply to be add the user to the database or update it, okay? So this is the guide that they sent me and let's go through it one by one. And this is gonna be quite a long video, so just bear with it, okay? So the first thing is set up Ingrok or Ingrok. I don't know how to spell this name, but it's gonna be Ingrok probably. So the idea of it is that we have to use webhooks, and when you're trying to use webhooks locally, it's not gonna happen because Clerk is like online and our application is just simply locally, okay? So they cannot connect together. So we're gonna use this Ingrok, which is simply a tool that's gonna allow us to host our application without hosting it. So our application is gonna be running on the localhost 3000, but we're gonna use a certain concept that is called forwarding URL. And that's what's gonna mean that if I access a public URL, I can actually access my application locally and access my API. And that's very cool because we're not now committed to actually go and host the whole application. We can't do that because the application is still under development. So we just simply have to use this tool that's gonna help us push our application or forward it online so we can actually be able to open a bridge between our application and also Clerk. And when we finish with the development process and now my application is online, when I finish the application and I host it like Universal or something, then my application, we don't need this app then. We're just simply gonna put the URL of the application that is actually now hosted, okay? But we don't have that now, so we have to use this tool. So the first thing is you have to go to their website and simply sign up. So you click on sign up right here and let's wait a little bit. So we're gonna sign up using Google. So I'm gonna click that and I'm gonna choose this account right here. I've created it just for this example. So we're gonna do that and let's wait. I'm just gonna go, I accept right here. And I'm just gonna go create account. So now I'm just gonna click skip here and then I'm gonna click got it. So as you can see right here, so for this one's right here, you just simply, I'm just going to use it for development right now, and you can put anything right here. I'm just going to click continue and we are on, okay? So simply they're just going to help you right here to connect. For example, if you're using Linux or Windows, this is like the way to do it, okay? So we actually, like you can see right here, it says install Ingrok via ept via apt with the following command, and also run the following command to add your auth token. So this is something that we have to do actually right now. So what we have to do right now, I'm just gonna copy this and I'm gonna open the terminal because I'm using WSL Linux. So if you are using Windows, just follow the instructions of Windows. But because I'm using Linux WSL, I'm just gonna open my WSL. Just give me a second. So let me just go here and actually zoom in. So let me go like this and let me paste everything right here and click enter. When you do that, I'm just gonna add the password of my system and the process is gonna start right now. And this is gonna start installing all the necessities for this to work for us. So let's wait a little bit, and when it's done, we will be back to you. So the process has been done fast. So now what I'm gonna do is just go back and actually copy this one. You see this one, I'm just gonna copy it and then go back to my command prompt. I'm just gonna paste this right here, but I need to add the actual auth token. So you gotta go back right here to the left side. You will see your auth token. You're gonna click here right here, and this is the auth token. I'm just gonna copy it. Don't use this because I'm gonna delete that later. I'm gonna go back right now and paste it right here and click enter. So now the auth token has been added to our system, and that's very important. So now we move to the next step. This is very geeky, but I think you'll like it. So now we have to go and continue. So it says right here, install and add your auth token by following steps 1 and 2. I've actually done that. Now it says right here, Enroll will generate a free non-ephemeral, I don't know how to spell this, domain for you and command to start a tunnel with that domain. The command should look something like this. So if you go back right here, it says, let me go back to setup installation. And now we have to go back to domains. So we got to go to domains and actually click on create domain. So when we click on that, you will see right here, we will get this command right here. So you see this command that is on the right side here, you're gonna copy that and go back to your terminal and paste it right here, but change the port you have here to 3000 because we are using it on localhost 3000. If there is like a 3001, use that. But for us, it's 3000. We're going to use that and we're going to click enter. So when you do that, now it says right here that the connection is online and it's working. And our application is actually hosted now in this URL. So if you take this URL right here and open it, let me just go back to let me just go back and open it right here in Edge browser. So actually I didn't copy it right. So let me do this again. So actually this is the, guys, I forgot. The URL is actually this one, okay? So we're gonna take this one and actually open it and click enter. And you will see, click on visit site and simply right here, it says we have a problem. If a developer on the machine on Clerk, it's running, make sure the web service is running at localhost 3000. Try to CR the open address in browser to see that you get a response. Why is that? Oh, I know what the problem is because we didn't run our application. So you have to go back to your application and actually run it. And I forgot that. So that's cool. We're going to go ban div right here. So when we do that, now if we go back here, let me just open now the browser again and open the localhost, see if it's actually running. So if the application is running, now it will run. So we wasn't forwarding anything. So now if I go back right here and refresh here, you will see now I can access my local application using this URL. So that is something very cool, and you have learned how to do forwarding, okay? So we have done that. That is the first step to actually achieve this. So when you achieve this, now we have to move the next step. And actually something that is cool, if you go actually right now to sign in, you will be able to do that. So click sign in. And you will actually be able to sign in and actually create that user. So simply right now, let me, for example, go to Clerk and let me open that. So I'm just going to open the dashboard. So let me just actually go to the dashboard here and actually go back to my application. Which one? This is the actual one. If I go back to my users and let me delete. So let me delete this user. And also let me delete this user and let me try to sign in using that URL, see if it's going to work. So let me refresh here. So this is online and you see how it works. So I'm going to click continue and then simply I'm going to choose this email, for example. Let's wait, let's click continue. So now it's giving me the option and you will see that I will be able to log in. And this is the user that I've logged in with. And if I go back to my Clerk dashboard and I will see the user has been added. So that's cool. So now let's go back to our guide and see what we're going to do next. So now we have to create an endpoint in the Clerk dashboard. Well, it says we have to go to the Clerk dashboard and then select webhooks. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard right here. And then on the left side, you will see this webhooks right here link. You're going to click it. So when you click it right here, we're going to wait a little bit and we're going to click on the add endpoint. So we're going to do that. And now we need to add the endpoint URL. So the endpoint URL is going to be our URL, as it says right here. It's going to be our URL, then /API, then /webhooks. And this API is going to be in our application that we will create. So this is our API endpoint, and we will create a webhooks endpoint there to actually, when we listen, all the events that will be triggered, it's going to be triggered from here. So let me actually take my URL right here and go back here, add it, and then /API, and then /webhooks or webhook. Let me just make sure. So let's see the guide. Okay, so it's webhooks, simply the same, I hope. Okay, it is actually the same. And then right here, which event we want to listen to. So simply you can learn here, you can see this is for the session, etc. user. So we're going to listen when a user is created. And we're also going to listen when a user is deleted, and also when a user is updated. So even when we delete a user, we'll be like, oh, we have deleted a user in Clerk. It should be also deleted from the database because it doesn't exist anymore. So now we have chosen the events. I'm just going to click on create. So when I've done that, now I have it ready. So let me just go back again and let's see right here. So select the create button. You will be redirected to your import settings page. Leave this page open. So it is open. Now it says right here, we have to go back to our env file and actually add the webhook secret. So we're going to take that, go back to our application, and let me close this, go back to my env file. And then right here, let me add the webhook secret. So I'm just going to add this with this one here. And let me add the actual secret. So to add the actual secret, we have to go back to our dashboard and look right here. You will see, what is it? This is the sign-in secret. So you will see it. You can actually see it right now. You can just simply copy it, okay? So I'm just gonna copy that and go back to my application and paste this. So let me just remove this all and paste it again and then save. So now I have added the webhook secret. That's cool. Now let's continue with the guide. So it's a very good guide that's just gonna make everything easy for us. So now we have to set the webhook route as public in your middleware, okay? So we're gonna go back to our middleware and we're gonna make sure that we add the exact matcher, which are gonna make our API public, okay? So as you can see, webhook route for the webhook route, okay? So we're gonna take that and yeah, this is actually, it is the same. It's not necessary, but I'm just gonna copy it because it says make sure that the API webhooks route is not protected here. So right here, when we have it inside our, when we added the protected routes, if you remember, we shouldn't add this API webhooks there, okay? Because it should be accessible publicly. So now let me just, for just a good measure, let me just add this. So I'm just gonna go back to my source here and go back to the middleware, and probably it is the same. Yeah, it is the same. So we are cool and we are done with that. Now the next step, let me just go back, and it says we have to install Sphinx, okay, which is simply going to be used to verify the webhook signature. So we have to install it. So let me, it's called Sphinx. So simply go back to our application, open a new terminal here. Let me add, this is very cool, guys. So just follow with me and let's add this and click enter, and it's done. I like mine a lot. It's so fast. So I think them a lot. I should stop. So now we have to create the endpoint in our application. So now it's just gonna give us the whole API routes in our app router. We just simply gotta go inside our app and then create the API folder, then create a webhooks folder, and then create the route.ts. So we're just gonna create that endpoint, and we're gonna copy paste this there, but simply this is not gonna be it. We have to do a lot of work here to get it running the way we want to, but this is a good step for us. Just have the base here, okay? So now we have to take this and actually go back to our application. And let me go back inside our app, and then we're gonna create our API endpoint. And then it says we should have it inside the webhook. So let me just go and make sure the name is right. So I'm gonna go back. So yeah, it's called webhooks, okay? So it's just gonna be webhooks and not webhook, okay? And then inside of this one, we're gonna create the route. This is how you create an API route. You name the folder, the name of the route, and then you have to add the route.ts for the route to be accessible. And so as you can see right here, it verifies everything in the headers. It does all the work for us, and it comes to this point right here. So it listens to the event type that we have, and it says the webhook with ID of and type of event type, and they simply will console log the body of the webhook. And the body of the webhook is going to be the informations of that user, okay, that is used to be created or also updated. And if we go back to the guide right here, it says, you can see right here in the console log, we can actually remove this and use this one to actually listen to the event when it's created or updated, for example. So we can use that. So let me take that and go back into our application, remove this console log here and add this one. So this is gonna be for when the user is created, but we also should listen when the user is updated, as it's quite literally the same. We're just gonna upsert, and upsert simply, it means when we have that user already there, we're just simply gonna update the data. If the user is not there, we're just simply gonna create it. So we have to listen also when it's updated and do the same thing. So when the event type is equal to the user dot updated like this. So on these both scenarios, we're just gonna console log the user ID and console log the event dot data dot ID. And we could do something else. Maybe not only that, we can also the data dot body. Okay, so do we have that there? I think what we should do is actually do that, but also extract the data directly, and we can see it. We can see const data, which is going to be equal. So the data is going to be in JSON format, so we have to parse it. So we have to parse the body, okay, that we have, and just simply access the data inside it like this. Okay, and now we have the data of that user. So let me actually go right here and console log and we can call this user data like this, and just simply go right here, sorry, not here but here, and add it this way. So now we will be listening. So now we are peeping of what's going on there. So as you can see right here, nothing is going on here. And now we have to listen. So what we have to do, let's try sign in and let's see what's can happen. So we can go to our application right here. Let me refresh. So everything is cool here. Now let me sign out here. And let me actually sign in again. So I can go to /sign in. And let me actually continue with Google, for example. And I'm just gonna sign in with this account again, and I'm gonna go continue. And when we do that, simply it's done. Let me go back to my application and let's see right here. And it seems like nothing happened. Why is that? We are listening, but it seems like the event type. Well, actually the problem that I had right here, we already have the event. What's going on here? User that created or user, it should console log that and console log that also, but we didn't get anything. A user that updated, I know, because the user is already there, so it's not gonna update, okay, because it's the same information. So yeah, let me do it again, and this time I have to go back to my dashboard, go back to the users here, and let me remove this user. And actually let me try this again now. So let me go try and sign in again. And let me continue with Google this time. And let me go back the same email and let's see. So continue. So we have done that. Let me hope that everything worked. Yes, it did work. And that is important for us to see this progress. Okay, so if you go back, this is the user, this is the data. So we have everything right here. Is the backup code enabled? Is it banned? This user could be banned. So if it's true, it's false, it's not banned. As you can see right here, we have the email addresses of this user. This is the email only we have there. And as you can see, everything about this user is here. So all the informations that's passed from the actual Clerk provider and added to the database, we also have access to it. So we can use this information, actually add this to our database. As you can see, we already have like the image here. You can see the image is already here. And all the things, this is the image URL actually, and this is the ID of the user. We can actually control everything. So even in our database, we can create the user with this ID if we want to keep the same ID on both sides. And that is quite cool. So all the information we need is here. So let's actually use that to our advantage. So I'm going to remove this console log and this console log. So now what we have to do is to create that user with the information we want. So we're going to go const and then user, and this one is going to be the type of user, okay, which we get. I don't access it, which is kind of weird. So let me go back to my, what is it? So my Prisma and then schema. So we have the user here. So it should actually show us the user model, which is the type. Actually, it's going to be user, or actually, it should. So there is an issue right here. Why is it not here? That's worrying. So if I try to import it, let's see if I try to import it. Let me import and then user and then from and then at Prisma client. we do get access to the user, okay, because we want this user to be the type of the user that we have there. That is very important, so we can actually only add the informations of the user that we have in the database, or the properties. So only these properties we will have access to, okay, or needed. So now when I do that, let me hope that this is working. Actually, it says user here. Let me see what the issue. I don't think we have an issue. Yeah, it says that we have to fill the information. So when I click on control and then space, it's going to show me that I need to fill in these informations. Why? Because it is of type of user. So I have to provide these informations. But as you can see, we added not only when creating, but also when updating. And that is key right here to understand. Because let's say I want to update a certain information of the user, and I'm only updating the name. So if I'm only updating the name, what I can do is only add the name here. So that's only, I'm gonna pass the name here, and that's it. But the problem when I do that is gonna throw an error, because it says I need the whole information of the user. So we have to tell it that we need only partial information, not all of it, but some of it. So partial, I have to write it this way. So now TypeScript will understand that we don't need to fill all the information. So even if I went like this, it wouldn't throw an error, because I could provide the informations or not. So it doesn't mean I have to provide every information or properties that I have in the user. No, I can only update only few properties. So let's go to the ID right here of the user, because I want to create the user with the same ID. So I'm going to go data.id. That is the first thing. Now let's go to the name. So if we go to the name, we're going to understand here that we don't get that directly, but we get the first name, which is family name, and given name right here. But I believe we get also right here first name, which is, this is my first name, and also we get the property last name. I don't know what it is, but this is it. This is last name. So we can use the combine it to create a name. How do we do that? Pretty easy. I'm just gonna use back6 here, and then we can go data.first name. So first name, sorry, like that, and then we can have space between them, and we can go data.last name. Okay, and we have created the name for us. And then also after that, we will have the email. Now the email is going to be in the data, and as you can see right here. Let me just go. We only have the primary email ID, but if we go to the email address, you can see right here we have email addresses, which is an array. We're gonna and it has one object, so we will take the only object there, which is the first one, and then dot email address. Okay, so we're gonna go dot and then email addresses. So email and then underscore addresses. I hope I type this right, because if we make a mistake, it's not gonna work. So dot email address like this. And then for the picture, it's gonna be the data dot, if we go back right here, what is it? It's, let me just look for it. It's this one, image URL. So let's take that and add it here. And that's quite nice. So now we have the informations of that user. And now we have to say something. If we don't have the user, we're not gonna do anything. So we can say if there is no user, simply we will just return like this. Okay, so if we don't have a user, why we bother to do anything? So now there is something that we will need to do, which is creating a function that is gonna help us actually access our database. So this is gonna be a db-lib-util. So what I mean by that, it's just a tool that I will be able to use to access my database, because now I want to actually go to my database and update the user. But how do I do that? I don't have a way to do that. So to achieve this, I'm going to go to my lib file right here, and then I'm going to create a db.ts. And this one, I'm just simply going to take the Prisma client and use it to access our database. You can actually do it by just going Prisma client dot and then the name of the model, then the way you want to add, you want to remove, etc. But the best way to do it is just doing it this way. So we're going to declare and then a global right here. So global, I don't want to make any mistakes right here. So it's going to take Prisma, and the type of Prisma is going to be the Prisma client. Okay, and if it's not there, it's just simply going to be undefined. So that is very crucial. So global is going to be this way, okay, not capital. And then we're going to export an instance of DB that we will use to connect, which is going to be the global this, and then dot Prisma. So we're going to use Prisma. And then if it's not there, we're just going to initialize a Prisma client for us. So we can use to access our database. And then simply, if we are not on production, this always going to be our DB. Okay, so we can go right here and then process. And normally every application in the env file, so we have access that, it's going to have a node env, which says our application is on development mode or production mode. So if it is not on production like this, so it knows it's by default. So let me just go add a space right here so it can be more readable. We're gonna, they give you this to copy it. Okay, I'm just typing it, but you can copy it from Prisma Docs. Okay, and then this is gonna be equal db like this. And now we are exporting this db instance right here, and this db, look what it's gonna do. So I can go right back to my application here, and I can go here, and I will say const and then db user. Now this is the user that we will add to the database. We will use await and then db, and as you can see, we can import it. Look at this db instance, what it's gonna do. If I click dots, it's actually gonna allow me to access my models, which is the models that I have in my Prisma, like user. So if I say dot user, I will be able to access it. So now I am in the user model. What can I do? So if you click dot, it's gonna give me all the options. So I can create, or that means I can create a user. I can also create many. I can create like many users. I can delete many, find unique, find first. We have the update. So all the sorts of like the normal stuff you do with your database, which is creating, updating, and deleting. Okay, those sorts of stuff, or finding, those sorts of stuff are also available easy using Prisma. By using this DB instance, you will be able to do all the operations that we normally do in the database. And one of them is upsearch. So upsearch is just simply what it does. If the user is already there, we update the data, and if the user is not there, we just simply create it. That's upsearch for you. Okay, or upsearch. So we're gonna go right here, which user we want to actually talk about or actually update. So where, we're gonna use the where right here. So this is like, if for example, if you want to find the user, you'd say where. Well, you're gonna take the property of the user. You can use email, for example, when it's equal to my user.email, which is the user that I have here in the body. You can also use ID. So that's also available for you to use. All this stuff will be available for us to use. And then after that, let's say, what if it's gonna update? So if it's gonna update, what it's gonna update with the informations of the user that I have here. Also, other than updating, it can also create like this. What it's able to create, now we need to pass the informations I wanna create this user with, which is gonna be just simply, you can just go right here and just spread the values of the user like this, which is fine, is gonna work because they have the same name of properties. We have email, picture, which is the same that I have right here. We have name, email, and then picture. We can also have the ID. We already added that. So the last thing that we need to add here, if you go to the create, it's gonna say one property is not added there, which is simply gonna be, what is it? It's gonna be the role right here, okay? So we have to add the role there. So I can go simply here and then the role. So the role is going to be either the user.role we have passed to it, and if we didn't, simply is just going to be the user role like this. Okay, but this is going to throw an error because it doesn't know that these informations are going to be there. It could be undefined. So what we have to do is to go through every single individual one and specify that the user ID is going to be there. So we have to specify, yes, it's going to be there. The same for picture, email, and name. So we can go here, and this one is going to be for name, and let's do it here. This one is also going to be for email, so we have to take that, add this here. Also, this is going to be the picture, and this is going to be the picture right here. So as you can see, pretty cool. So now we can use this, and it's going to go to our database and see if this user already exists with this email. It's just going to update it, but if it doesn't, it's going to create it. That's the whole idea of it. You can also here, you can just use the ID, which also will work. But let's say, I don't know, if the user that you created in the database by yourself, you didn't create it in Clerk first, what's going to happen? You're going to have the ID of the database is not going to be the same as Clerk, and that's going to create a problem. But if the email is there, yes, it's going to look for the same email in Clerk, which always going to be there. But the ID in certain situations that you do it manually by yourself, it could not be the same. So that's why we have to avoid this and do it this way. So we have done that. Now we have done this, but that's not enough, because just simply we added the role to the database, but we didn't add the role to Clerk. So if you go back So our application, I know this video is very long, but just bear with me. If you go to your application right in the dashboard here, so wherever user you have here, and you can just simply click on view profile, there is no property that you can see here that has the role. It's not here. So, but there is something that every user has in the Clerk dashboard, which is the metadata. Metadata could be public informations, but also could be private informations. So what I'm gonna do in this private metadata right here, which we have here, we're gonna have the role property here. And this one could be user, admin, or seller. And also when we update this information right here, it will update in our database. And when we update it in our database, it will automatically update this information here. So that's why I'm saying this is very important for us and it's gonna work. So what we can do is to go right here under. Now we need to do that. So we're just gonna go await and then Clerk client. And then we're gonna go through our users right here and we're gonna use the update metadata function. And when you try to update this, you need two things. First of all, the user ID, which is going to be the data.id right here. And the second thing is what you want to update. We want to update the private metadata, as you can see right here. And inside of it, we will update the row to be the dbuser.row, which is the role we have in the database. But if we don't have it there, normally it's just going to be user. So that is quite cool. So I like this a lot and it does work. So whenever we do something like this, it will update automatically. And let's actually test this. So now it's been a long video, I know, just bear with me. I'm just gonna go right now here. I'm just gonna go run and then Prisma Studio to run this on the browser. So I'm gonna take that. I don't want to use Google Chrome. So I'm just gonna go back to my application here on Edge. I'm gonna open it here. So let me close this here and just discard changes. So if you can see, if I refresh, I have no users here. So users, it says 0. And if I click here, I have no users. But now let me do this again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my Clerk dashboard and I'm actually gonna go back to users and delete this user. And now let me try to add it again and let's see what's gonna happen. So I go back to my application and let me try to sign in again like this. And then, so now I'm gonna use Google. And I'm going to choose this email. And when I do that, I'm going to go continue. And it is done. So now my application has been redirected to the home page. Now, if I go back to my Prisma Studio, let's hope that the webhook has worked and I was able to do this. So let me refresh. And as you can see, I have been able to achieve that and create the user also on in the database. That is actually very, very cool. As you can see right now, we have synced that. This is one of the coolest things you will do. So as you can see, even the user ID is the same as the one that we have right here in the dashboard. So it is the same user, everything. And notice the magic also lies between that. If we go down to the private metadata, we have here the role to be user. But this is cool. Now let me show you what's cooler. I can take this user and say, now I want to transfer it to admin and I can save. And when I do that, I gotta go back to my database. So you see, it was here seller user. So now if I refresh this and I go back and see, the magic happens now and it's still used. That was embarrassing. So let me check what happens now. So the role here is, it's user, it's sell user. So what happens? We can't update it right here. I guess we have to update it from the database because we can't go and do it manually here. So let me go here and take this user and update it to admin. Yeah, this is the right way to do it. So I'm gonna update, like I'm working on my application. I wanna make a user an admin. So I went and changed the role to admin in the database. So now it should update. That's how it should work. So now if I go back right here, I should find this instead of user. If I refresh, it should be admin. So I refresh this and I go back here and it is admin. Sorry, I hit my mic so hard because that's finally worked. So as you can see right now, I have admin. That is cool. So I go back now again and let me try change it to seller and let me save, go back to my dashboard. Now refresh here. And now it's going to be also right here, seller. So that's cool. So the reason for it, I'm having this right here in the metadata and not having it only in my database, because to get the informations of the user logged in your application, it's so much easier using Clerk. It's just simply you gotta go Clerk current user and it's gonna give you the user, instead of actually going and doing a request to your database and actually look for the user, etc. No, simply you just look for the current user using Clerk and it's gonna be there, and we can just look through the private metadata and get the role of the user, instead of doing a much harder work to actually go to the database and look for it. So that is cool. I'm gonna say something that is very important right here, and notice with me. And this Enroll is gonna work for you very limited. So in this video, I want you to make sure that you go to your application, log in with 2 different accounts, and make one an admin and make one a seller. This is very important. So I have made my first account here seller. I'm just gonna make it admin. I'm gonna save that, and I'm gonna also go back to my application and let me sign out and actually log in with a different account, so to add it to my database, and I'm gonna make that the seller, because I want to have those. So when I work on the I'm just gonna make, yeah, let's use this one as my seller account. So it's been logged in. Let me just show you. So now I have, let me just see it's done or not. It's done. Let me refresh. So I have the new user right here, and as you can see right here, this is an admin. This is the new user that I have added. This one I'm gonna make it a seller, okay? Because this is gonna stop working for you once you close this one. Once you close this, it's gonna stop working, and you might restart your computer and you have to redo this again, and it's not gonna work for you because it's very limited, unless if you paid for the premium service to have access to it all the time. But to make sure that you at least have your 2 users in the database, one admin, one seller, do this. Because when we start working on the database, whenever I'm working on the admin side, I'm going to use this account, and I'm working on the seller, I'm going to use this account. Okay, this is very important. Do it, guys, so you don't have to create a new account in this website in Grok and then do all the steps again. That's going to be very tiring. So we have achieved that. That's very good. Now what I'm going to do is something also very nice. I'm just going to go sign out, and listen to me carefully here. I'm going to go and sign in again. But this time I'm gonna sign in with a different account. So I'm gonna sign in, let's say, with this account, okay? And it's gonna say the password. I'm not even sure this is the right password. I have a lot of emails that I never use here. Okay, I got it. So I'm gonna go continue. So when I have done that, now I have been logged in here. And if I go back to my Prisma database, I have a new user that has been created, which is user. Now let's say I go to my database and I delete this user. So now what I want to do when I delete this user from here, I want to also go back here. Let me go back to the users. I want to delete it also from here. It shouldn't be here if it's deleted in the database. So we have to go back to our application and work on that too. So right here, this is the event. So this is when user is created or updated. That is cool. Now I want to work on something when the user is deleted. So that's also something we have to take care of. I'm not gonna create an application that is not working fully on everything. We have to do this. Okay, so guys, let's focus. So now if the event.type, so let's remove those right here because we're already having the event.type. There is no need for this one. So if the event.type is now equal to what? User dot deleted. So if the user is deleted, we have to go back right here and look for the ID. So all we need to delete the user from the database is the ID of that user. So we can go const and then user ID, which is gonna be what? It's gonna be JSON. So we have to parse the data we have in the body. Okay, so we're gonna parse the body and then we're gonna access the data the same way we've done, and then .id. Because if you remember, the user ID exists in data.id after extracting it from the body.data. Okay, so we got the user ID. So if we have it, simply we can just go await and then db.theuser and we can use delete. So delete action is just simply needs, sorry, we just need what? Okay, I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, fine, now it worked. So oh, there is a problem with my keyboard. I don't know why. So what user we're gonna delete? We will say, well, we're gonna delete the user where the ID of that user is the same as the user ID we have here in our body. So now that's it. And now we achieved that. So now if I delete something in my Clerk, for example, it will also go to the database and delete that. So let's see how it's gonna work, and I hope it does. So I don't want to be embarrassed. Let me go back. So this is the account that we were talking about. This one right here with this email. Okay, just look for it, and I'm just gonna go right here and delete the user. So I've done that. So it's done. I go back to my database and it's been deleted. That's quite cool. As you can see right now, it has been deleted and it's not there anymore. How cool is that? And also we are not logged in anymore because it doesn't exist there. So my fellow developers, this was it for this video. I know it was a long video, but it was very informative. You cannot deny that. You have learned a lot of new stuff right here on authentication and how to use webhooks to achieve this beautiful authentication system that we have created. And this is a premium content that you will not find anywhere else. And yeah, this is the best of quality you will get. So yeah, this is for video. Something I want to note very importantly, which is like when we add any code right here, I'm gonna comment it after. So all the code that you see right here, I'm gonna comment it very well. I'm not gonna do it while on course because this is gonna be very boring for you, but I want you to go through every single part and comment it for yourself. I'm not gonna use my comments, use yours, so you can know exactly what you have did, because you could write your comments depending on a certain way so you can understand it better. So instead of having when user is created or updated, you can have a more understandable comments for you. Okay, but I'm gonna do this off camera. I'm gonna do it for the whole code right here to make it easier for you to understand when you look at the repository in GitHub. And don't forget guys, after every video, make sure to push your GitHub your code to GitHub to make sure that you don't lose your progress. Okay guys, so that was it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned a ton, and see you in the next one as usual.